few people who didn't support him was pure Trump. But more than anything else, he was at that moment humbled by the honor that had been bestowed on him by a country he truly loves, and confident in his abilities and the miracles possible when the free men and women of this great land work together to achieve greatness. That was the Donald Trump America saw in the first hours of November 9th, 2016, after Hillary Clinton had conceded the election. The 24 hours leading up to that moment were another story altogether. At around 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Election Day, Dave Bossie left the campaign's war room in Trump Tower and made the 5-minute walk to 30 Rock to do an interview with Hallie Jackson on MSNBC. Jackson had asked him where he was most concerned. "It's not a concern," he said. "We just have our path to 270. Over and over he had told interviewers that week that Trump's gateway to the presidency ran through North Carolina, Ohio, Iowa, and Florida. On Jackson's show, he sounded knowledgeable, confident. But on his way back to Trump Tower, he was just trying to keep straight the thoughts that flared in his mind. He had been talking to the campaign's state directors all day. People like Mike Rubino in Virginia, Scott Hagerstrom in Michigan, Eric Branstad in Iowa, Bob Paduchik in Ohio, Susie Wiles in Florida, and David Urban in Pennsylvania. All key battleground states, all giving him anecdotal reports like, "It's raining in Cleveland," or "The turnout is low in these precincts," or "They have machine problems in Philly." No surprise there. In one moment he was sure Trump would win. In the next he thought we didn't have a chance. By late afternoon it looked like the latter. In the war room, on the 14th floor of Trump Tower, a space that had once housed the set for The Apprentice, it was all hands on deck. Ivanka, Don Jr., Don Jr.'s wife, Vanessa, Eric and Eric's wife, Lara, were working the phones. Our communications team, led by Hope Hicks, Jason Miller, Jessica Ditto, and Boris Epstein, was heroic. People such as Brian Lanza, Kalen Dorr, Clay Shoemaker, Chris Byrne, Stephen Chung, Andy Sarabian, Cliff Sims, and others, some of whom had been with the campaign since the beginning, were calling top 5 radio shows in key markets, such as North Carolina, Florida, and Ohio. During the campaign, the Trump children did scores and scores of interviews, and on Election Day they did one right after the other. "Go out and vote for my father," they said. "Hurry before the polls close." The truth was, some on the campaign were already jumping ship. The Friday before the election, Sean Spicer, then the chief strategist for the Republican National Committee and a campaign advisor, called a meeting at RNC headquarters in which his team gave Tier 1 network reporters its predicted totals for the Electoral College vote. The information was strictly on background and under embargo. In that meeting, the Republican data team said that Donald Trump would get no more than 204 electoral votes, and that he had little chance of winning any of the battleground states, and that even dead-red Georgia was a toss-up. On the record, Spicer and the RNC's Deputy Chief of Staff, Katie Walsh, did several network and newspaper briefings just before the election, in which they downplayed the race at the top of the ticket and instead talked about the importance of down-ballot races and the improvement in the RNC's ground game. But Spicer was so convinced of a Trump loss that he was actively petitioning networks for a job the week before the election. In the coming months, a lack of loyalty would split the new administration in two. The actions of Spicer and other RNC staff helped widen that divide. Because of these actions, Mr. Trump never fully trusted the RNC team. By 5 o'clock on election night, though, something close to panic had set in the war room. That's when the candidate himself took to the phone. When Jason Miller joined the campaign as communications advisor, and Paul Manafort was still the campaign's chairman, the two would come up with lengthy briefing notes for Trump's radio interviews, containing information like, "This guy's located in X city or market and has been the show's host for X number of years, and he has an X thousand-person listenership." Trump would look at the paper and say, "What the fuck is this? I don't need all this. Just give me a phone number and tell me who to call." In any traditional campaign, with any traditional candidate, a staffer would call the radio producer and say something like, Hold up.